welcome. I'm Vanessa McCamley, a leadership and performance coach, facilitator, and the author of Rewired for Success. Today, I'm speaking with one of my incredible clients who has seen firsthand the impact of neuroscience-based training and coaching in high-pressure environments like the world of health and safety. Joining me is Craig, who has been part of the Neuroscience of Peak Mental Performance program that has been running for over 12 months. We'll discuss his key insights, his journey, and the impact on leadership and decision-making and performance. So welcome, Craig. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you, Vanessa.
First question for you is, can you start sharing a little bit about your role and some of the key challenges that you were facing this time a year ago?
Yeah, certainly. I report to the Director of Health, Safety and Training in my company. And my primary focus is to monitor and review 7 assets in Queensland for their safety management systems. And that includes their people, processes, and I intervene where their performance doesn't meet our targets. So it involves a lot of regular on-site visits to reasonably remote areas, includes interactions with health safety training or HST managers, their teams, as well as the site's operations managers and their teams. But on the other side also includes the corporate side, where I need to interact with the general managers, directors, and the COO of our company. So some of the challenges I faced coming into this program was that a large amount of my time was taken up with travel, and this had a severe impact on my ability to complete similar work output as my counterpart in New South Wales. They don't have that similar added travel component. And I also work up in Queensland, where my main team is located in New South Wales. So I missed out on a lot of those kitchen conversations. So when we'd have meetings and a topic was discussed, which I wasn't aware of, I wasn't sure if it was something new or something I should have known about. At the time, I wouldn't speak up because I thought, that'd be seen as incompetent and not knowing what was going on. So all this added up to me having, limited sleep. I'd average 2 hours sleep at night, very irritable. I was working non-stop, but not achieving a great output. My memory was shot. I couldn't remember anything. So my head, and to be fair, my whole work-life balance was a mess. And I felt like my job was on the line because of it. So that's where I was at that point, yeah.
So in regards to the program that we did, which is the Peak Mental Performance program, how did it help you to manage high pressure situations, this stress, this environment that you were talking about that you're in, and to be able to make effective decisions? Because obviously if you're not sleeping well and you're working long hours and you're fatigued, obviously decision making was impacted. So how has this program helped reverse that for you?
Yeah, right. My decision making was, I suppose looking back, very poor at the time. But this program, it changed my mindset to approach, every interaction with a purpose, and empowered me to take into consideration what I wanted others to think about when I was communicating with them, and also how I wanted them to feel about what I was delivering. And most importantly, what I've learned was, what did I wanted them to do as a result of what I was delivering. And now I feel as though I'm back in control with that and adding value.
And isn't that amazing? I mean, really, it was a 360-degree turnaround. Would you agree?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, definitely.
And what does it feel like more now? So I know you said you feel like you're in more control and whatever, but what has it given you back? What's been some of the outcomes?
Oh, well, I'm back to sleeping, normal hours for starters. Yeah, that is one of the biggest things for me. I'm feeling a lot healthier for it. My mind's a lot clearer. I'm stringing together sentences now, whereas previously, as you remember, I would be struggling to understand or trying to pick up a word. It would just things would just disappear out of my head. But again, I'm sleeping. I'm not feeling that stress. I'm healthier. I feel a lot healthier and a lot happier with the way things are at the moment.
Which is really great, right? Like to turn that corner to where to where you're actually thinking more clear, you're making more effective decisions, you're communicating, connecting better with other people, you're making every meeting and session count. That is great. How has it impacted your personal environment? So now that you're sleeping well and you've got more of a rhythm back at work, how's it impacted your personal life?
Well, I'm a lot happier at home. Obviously, I'm not so snappy all the time. At the time, I was just finding myself just wanting peace. So I was sort of probably shutting the family out a bit because I just needed that peace to let my mind sort of try and get all the clutter out of my head, which I just couldn't do.
And that's what overwhelm does, right? When we're overwhelmed with fatigue, the same thoughts just spiral round and round and round and round and round, and we don't seem to be able to get off the roundabout. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, definitely. And even those limited hours of sleep that I did get, again, I would be thinking about work or thinking about what needed to be done, or just anxious every time the phone would. I'd get an email or a text or something from somebody that I'd missed something, or I hadn't done something because I'd purely forgotten to do it, or hadn't scheduled it or planned it as well as I could have.
So tell me, what's it like working with me as your trainer and your coach? How have you experienced working with me?
As you know, Vanessa, and I've never made a secret about this, I came into this program kicking and screaming. My workload, in my mind, was enormous. I didn't have time for this. It was another thing that I had to try and fit into my schedule. But after every session with you, I came out the other side of it feeling, a lot better about myself. And each time, my path ahead was a little bit clearer. And you provide those little processes and techniques to guide me through what I thought was a mountain of a workload at the time, and made me realise that it was well within my capacity to achieve the goal if I applied those techniques that you told me about.
Which is great. So where are you at now, do you think, from 12 months ahead now, and we're doing our second year of coaching this year? Where are you at in the journey, and what are you expecting that's going to be different about this year?
I wouldn't say I'll ever reach the end of the journey. It's always something that I would say it's probably, I wouldn't say 2 steps forward, but it's definitely like a 3-step forward and then 1 step back. You always seem to fall back into that. Those old habits are hard to break. You fall back in, and then you sort of get realigned. I have a touch base with you, and you sort of bring me back onto that track. We sort of keep deviating off, and then I come back in, and it's just it's that constant bringing back on where you realign those new habits that you want to keep. So I'm constantly fine tuning, definitely on the better side of on the scale than I was previously when I first started.
Which is brilliant. And congratulations. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So, and I'm not calling you a horse, by the way. Yeah. In this neuroscience program, it looks at how we rewire habits. How do we create new habits that actually serve us, and how we let go of old habits that no longer serve us. Can you share real life examples of how you shifted your behaviors, improved mental clarity, or created new performance enhancing habits?
Yeah, I think about the why I do what I do, and it's about understanding my priorities. It's hugely important to me. When planning my weeks ahead, I identify the strategic work over the reactive tasks. I tended to focus on let's say the relatively easy reactive situations, and use these as an excuse not to get my priority work done. I now use relatively simple techniques that you've told me about, whereby I use color coding when scheduling in my calendar to differentiate between the various projects and responsibilities. I mean, it seems simple, and it is simple, but it's just another little link in the armor that helps you to build on it. And this gives me clarity in my time allocation. I've also enhanced my communication with the think, feel, do process I mentioned earlier. And by doing so, I think I forged stronger alignment with the people I report and communicate to. I've also seized control of my time by implementing structured reflection and planning sessions. By that, I mean I reserve in my Friday mornings for that introspection. It's where I like to evaluate what's happened for the week, where previously I'd be, you have the to-do list, and you never get anything ticked off. By reevaluating what I've done previous week, I start to tick off the little wins that I might not have done what I needed to do, but I've done all this other stuff which I wasn't taking that time to, I suppose, reflect on and go, you know what, I have done quite a bit of work that needed to be done. It's a good thing, and it helps you feel better about your time. And I also evaluate my leadership impact. How did I present myself in my meetings, and how did I come across? What did I need to fine tune? My time management effectiveness, and also that gives me my time to prioritise for next week and understand what needs to be done.
Yeah, so good. And like what you said, there's sometimes really simple things, and it's not that we don't know this stuff, but when we get busy or when our brain feels full or overloaded or overwhelmed, we just can't see the trees through the weeds. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, definitely.
And so
Yeah.
it's sometimes just stepping back and having somebody to just check your thinking, because we have on average between 50 to 70,000 thoughts on average per day, but we only communicate a small amount of that. Right?
Yeah.
So that means the remaining of those thoughts are going round and round and round. It sometimes feels like those thoughts are on a merry-go-round. So we're speaking with someone and then looking at the schedule, really clarifying what is important, where you're going to spend your precious time and energy, and what's the outcome that you want to get out of that. So tell me, what are some of your either unexpected learnings or breakthroughs that you experienced that surprised you?
I suppose the biggest for me was I wasn't on my own when it came to the feeling of inadequacy in my work life. That imposter monster, as some call it, had gradually crept in and taken control. But I wasn't in a place when we first met to understand what had actually happened. Like I said, I was averaging 2 nights of sleep, constantly tired, irritable, not delivering targets, but working long hours to try and achieve things, but not getting there. And I was down in that hole, and which didn't allow me to recognise the situation I was in. And again, I thought I was the only one in this position and felt threatened that I was not up to the job, or my job was on the line. I learnt I wasn't on my own in this, and that there's a lot of other people that at some stage in their working career find themselves in this situation. But I also learnt that there's a way, and it is the simple things that we mentioned earlier. I had made a statement to you once before. I knew a few of these techniques that you had told me about, and I'd even said them to the people that used to report to me over the years. I'd pushed them on to other people, yet I hadn't applied them to myself. Now, I suppose put them in the back of my mind, forgotten about them. You brought them to the table again, and along with the many others, and enhanced them. And it was fantastic.
So would you say it's easy to apply?
As you said, it's a habit. It's a habit that you need to get into, and you need to constantly work on it, I would say. And it's not something you just go, bang, it's on. I mean, like I said, in one way, shape or form over the years, I probably have used, a couple of these techniques, but then they've just faded away, or I've forgotten about them, and you just lose your way, I suppose.
So talking about these old habits and rewiring for success, what does it take, do you think? So if you were to give advice or give some specific moments where you were able to be able to use neuroplasticity, creating new wiring, what would be the ingredients to be able to push past some of these barriers that you were facing?
Well, I guess this is certainly one of those barriers. I'm way out of my comfort zone when it comes to this kind of thing. So, but to answer your question, I suppose one of the big things is I've learned about the way my brain works as opposed to others. I understand now that my brain needs time to process. And quite often when I've been in meetings, the conversation has moved on before I can communicate my thoughts. But I've learned to embrace this. Whereas before I would have just let the conversation move on and stay quiet, I now pull up the conversation and bring it back. If I have something I believe is important, that should be considered. And this is a huge thing for me. Again, I wouldn't have done this before, and I would probably be perceived as someone who didn't have a lot to contribute because they sat back quiet, but understanding that my brain was processing, and I just didn't feel like I could push into the ongoing conversation. Whereas now, like I said, I know I'm contributing. I can walk away from meetings feeling like, that I should be there.
And isn't that an amazing achievement where you actually feel like you found your voice in meetings now, as opposed to just sitting back? But also you've been able to ask, like if you've had a meeting and then you've had ideas afterwards, you now go back or you pick up the phone and you clarify, which were techniques you weren't doing before. So tell me, if you had any advice for new people looking at this program who maybe is thinking something similar to you, going, oh no, not another program, and oh, what am I going to get out of this, and I'm too busy, what would you say to those people?
I would say, in all honesty, go into this program kicking and screaming if you need to, but make sure you go in. My life is, so much better for my time with you, Vanessa, and I can honestly not thank you enough for helping me feel as though I matter in my role and I'm worthy of being there. So, like I said, I feel a lot more empowered and confident that I'm making a difference in a position of safety where that is so important. And again, I thank you for that.
And you make a real difference to the lives of people in the mines to make it safe for people. And so isn't it amazing that you can now be empowered and confident and feel like you're bringing your best self to work every day,
Yeah,
even
definitely.
though you're still learning and still growing?
Yes, yeah, no, 100%. Yep.
But it's been a pleasure for you to share your journey with us today. Thank you. And I hope it can inspire other people who are starting out or looking to go out on this journey with fresh eyes.
Yeah, like I said, even if you have to go in kicking and screaming like I did, make sure you go in.
Thanks, Craig.
That was my pleasure. Thank you. Thanks, Vanessa.